Welcome to Automotive Innovators Unplugged, spotlighting the innovators, disruptors, and forward thinkers shaping the future of automotive retail.
Each week, we'll dive into the tools, tech, and strategies that help dealers win in today's market and get a little personal with our guests.
Introducing our host, Sean Kelley, #1 Amazon bestselling author, Special Operations Combat Veteran, and CEO of Car Motivators, known in automotive as the CarViz Coach.
And JP Burkemper, automotive AI expert and co-founder of Vinsyt, helping dealerships retain customers with state-of-the-art artificial intelligence.
Now it's time for the show.
I'm Sean Kelley, the CarViz Coach, CEO of Car Motivators, and today we're hanging out with Don Brown Jr., a second-generation dealer, and DB3, Don Brown III, third-generation dealer, and JP. We are going to be interviewing them with the intent on helping our target audience, aka other dealers out there, know about the latest and greatest with customer retention. And this is a topic that I know is really near and dear to Don Brown's, DB Jr.'s heart here, because we have had, Don, do you want to tell us a little bit about your dealership, where you're located and some of the challenges that come from that?
Yeah, I'm located about 4 miles from the St. Louis Arch in the city of St. Louis. I'm a standalone Chevrolet store. We are physically in the city limits. Everybody hears good things about the city of St. Louis, and so been here since 1984, where I worked with my father and alongside of him. And then after his untimely death in 97, I took over day-to-day, I took over as a dealer in 98. Sales has gotten tougher after COVID, trying to build that back up. And this is one of the things that I think is helping us as we go.
Yeah, and I want to be clear too, because I grew up selling cars literally a mile down the road from Don Brown Chevrolet. And I remember we would go days without a walk-in, and we had to get really good at driving our own traffic into the dealership, because St. Louis City is kind of a destination location. There's other markets where there's like 20 dealerships, dealership row, but that's not where you all are, right? So you have to get really good at bringing people in, or sometimes you won't see enough traffic. And so customer retention has been something that we've been, from the coaching perspective, right? And just a note for you audience listeners, Car Motivators, we've been working with them for Don Brown on both sales, service, and fixed ops and BDC for about 5 years now. And Vinsyt, JP, my man at Vinsyt, brought this amazing tool to the party too. And we've really had a lot of wins. One of the reasons I wanted to interview Don Brown and DB3 here was because of a lot of the wins. In fact, looking at the stats, it looks like over the last 24 months, you all have hit maximum tier customer retention and service, basically 23 out of the last 24 months. So that's amazing. Congratulations. To be able to do that at your location, that's just to give the audience some perspective, but that's quite a feat, safe to say.
Amazing.
So nice job on that, guys. So I'd like to start off by asking a question for Don, and DB3, feel free to chime in just as you have been in our convo prepping for this convo. Don, can you share the story of your dealership's journey with customer retention and how your approach has evolved over the years?
Yeah, you talk about clusters of 20 dealerships back, 30, 40 years ago. This was Auto Row that we're on Kings Highway, and now it's down to really 2 dealerships, because the Toyota store moved out on the highway. So, our retention has dwindled. Obviously, COVID didn't help much, but it seems like each year we lose a little bit more on the sales side, a little bit more on the sales side. So it's obviously a big draw to us. Let's try to keep people down here. More and more people are moving out of the city, moving to the county, but we got to find a way to say, hey, I know we still got a vibrant store and we're still going, and it seems to be working out. Vinsyt's helped us with that.
Yeah, it's like people moving out of the city, then couple that with the units in operation that has drastically declined. And so, the way that you all are growing your retention is amazing. DB3, what changes have you personally seen in customer retention, and coming up at the dealership world? Tell us a little bit about your story, how you've grown your career at Don Brown Chevrolet, and tell us what changes you've seen in both, retention with your BDC and keeping customers engaged long-term over time.
Well, I think coming up in the business, throughout high school, I worked in different departments, and in college, coming back for the summers, I touched every department. And one thing that I learned through that is retention is something that at times we probably forgot about a little bit more than we should have. And in the new age we're in now, customer retention is available at our fingertips more than it ever could be. And I think understanding how social media and the use of fantastic products like Vinsyt, which you guys will learn about more soon, but doing these things to help your dealership, it's easier than ever before. And there's a reason why this product has benefited us so much, just because it's a multifaceted tool that is something that is easy for our salespeople and customers to use. And I think that's just the biggest thing I've noticed is just over time how the tools that are available. Well, Vinsyt has done things for us that 5-6 years ago, when I was young in the business, washing cars and working in the used car lot, that are things that were not available to us at that point.
Well, so I brought this up earlier. The nice thing about this is, I said earlier, I started selling cars at 19. I started with my father much younger than that, but I started selling cars at 19. I'm 61, and back in the day, we didn't have to worry about retention, because if 3 people walked out of the show floor, there was 7 more people coming behind them. Of course, back then we didn't have Kia, we didn't have all the other brands that we have now. Hyundai wasn't around. There's so many more brands. There's so many less vehicles. There's, you have to build your brand. And when I say build your brand, Don Brown Chevrolet and the salespeople have to build their brands. That's how you have retention. And in the old days, it was, get on the phone and call and do a lot of work for very, very little satisfaction. And it's just, and it's still like that with a lot of different programs. This one just doesn't happen to be that way. This one works good for the rookie. This one works good for the 10, 12, 20-year veteran. They already know how to do that. That's why they're 15, 20 years in the business. This just makes it easier for them.
Yeah, it's like scalable follow-up and conversations and touches with the owner base. JP, I got to ask you, what inspired the creation of Vinsyt, and what gap in dealership operations were you aiming to fill with AI technology?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's interesting, guys. Everybody on this call knows I do not come from an automotive background. I actually come from e-commerce. So while the Amazons of the world, people getting online, buying things online, were starting to grow, I was working at a company called backcountry.com, helping them kind of with that Amazon-esque type of business, business to consumer, all digitized. And I got lucky. Coming in when I did. My old man is the founder of this, and his partner, Randy Zamaripa, was an automotive lifer. And through getting to know Randy, the passion he had for the business, I was just fortunate enough to come in at the right time, kind of with a different bit of a mindset, being on the computer and the online side of the business. I was able to come in and I helped them identify this missing piece of the auto industry. And that was, dealers are so good at selling cars. They're such good people, so good with people and building those relationships at the time of sale and service. It's really, for all intents and purposes, when that customer leaves the lot after that great experience, that relationship can start to dwindle. So we were able to put our heads together and come up with a nice solution that, really mixed. It's not all AI with Vinsyt. That's why I think these guys like it is, it's a real mixture of the people in the stores, the everyday faces you're going to see, but mixed with that AI that's going to give the customers the best, experience inside and outside of the store, and keep their friends coming back with them. So I did have a question for the Browns here. We're all St. Louis guys on this call, and Don, you told some amazing stories, and I think you talk about different ways to build retention. I remember growing up seeing commercials of you guys, on the TV, and I don't know if we see that much, but if you could kind of talk about how you've kind of ingrained yourself into the city of St. Louis and the cool things that you do for the city, maybe with the sports teams, different charities, stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I really I followed in my dad's footsteps is what I did. I learned from my dad, which I see him doing with me. I sat back and watched and silently learned, and I picked up a lot. But when my dad got sick, he told me, we're in the city. I wish it was better. It was easier for you because of the crime and everything down here, which, comes and goes. And I really don't at this point in time. I don't want to be anywhere but here. The city's great. We do have great sports teams. Maybe not right now. I do a lot. I support the police department down here. I support many different charities. I've ingrained myself. This is my home. St. Louis is my home, and I have a big family here. I got a beautiful family at my home, but I got a big, beautiful family here with 107 employees and open to grow. When my dad passed in 97, we had 75 employees. So I've grown it through all this. And the only way you can grow it is do unto others. And I try to take that. I try to, reinforce my dad's values and my values on everybody. And don't get me wrong, we are a family dealership. There's no, our HR department isn't, a square peg fits in a square hole. We mold and do what we can do to help not only the community, but the people that work here.
And talking about family, I am fortunate enough to work with my dad. We can look at this as a legacy business, so similar to what we see in automotive. That name on the building stays the same for generations. So DB3, can you tell me a little bit about what it's like working with your dad? I know I'm doing it every day.
Well, it's awesome. I think getting to learn from him and also being there because, there's obviously scenarios. Nice thing is I like getting thrown into those scenarios and making those decisions, having him there to ask him questions, lean on his shoulder for things that I really wouldn't feel comfortable with anybody else. So I think that's the coolest thing, feeling comfortable in your own skin and what you're doing. It's allowing you to grow and to the full potential. So I think it's, not to mention it's fun. So I think that's the coolest part about it.
Definitely.
I gotta tell you, I love it. He'll go off to training for 4 or 5 days, and it's kind of sad for me, because I like having him here.
Yeah.
And I love his thought process. I didn't realize his thought process until I spent enough time with him, and I'm like, that poor kid sounds a lot like me. So I'm like, geez, I hope it doesn't end up like me. I mean, look at this. I hate to end up like this, but anyway, it's been a true joy, and the things I do because I want this building to be here a long time, well after I'm gone, and hopefully one day DB4 is running it, and he can go fishing like I'm going to go here in the next couple of years.
You're a big tarpon fisherman. I know that. And by the way, the way you two work together and collaborate is as crazy as it sounds, very unique in our business. Coaching a lot of dealers where their father-son situation, it's almost like the fathers treat the sons like hurry up, just get out of my office, I got stuff to do. And I love the way that you love pouring into DB3, and DB3, you're so open to it. Like you guys have no ego, and that's such a rare thing in the automotive industry. You both of you are humble and open arms to learning and implementing new things. I think that's one of your biggest strengths as a father-son dealership leader team, is your willingness to innovate and try new things. And speaking of that, I want to talk about some of with our audience, some of the ways that you are driving really customer retention through dealership process operations. The one of which, we'll circle back. We're going to talk about Vinsyt. I want to talk to you all about service BDC. I want to talk to you all about your lease your pay here for your subprime market. So these are all ways that I think you're driving up retention. Let's start with the lease your payer thing, because this is, it takes a lot of courage to start a subprime leasing business, right, in the heart of one of the toughest credit markets. And you all have a portfolio with well over probably 150 customers in it. And you're going to start being able to capitalize on those and turn those into repeat sales pretty quick here. Tell us a little about that. What's your initiative there look like?
I think we're gonna, if we get to 200 and we're churning them out, and because we're getting to that point in time now that we're we're probably doing 1 or 2 a month, maybe 3 a month that are coming back out of them. We're either putting them back in that one and selling them that one, or we're selling them a new one. We're working hard to try to get, the credit scores up down here. So then people don't have to rely on a lot. They can do things on their own. But if we got if we had a portfolio of 200 vehicles and we knew at the beginning of every month, we were going to have 6 vehicles that were going to come out. We're going to sell 6 more vehicles. That'd be you. I mean, we might sell them on the prime side, but then we pick up 6 more subprime deals. That would be my goal. That'd be my goal. That would be 12 vehicles a month that we didn't have, right? So 6 prime and then 6 subprime. So
what I'm hearing you say is you're putting them in your leasing program, building up their credit rapidly, and then converting them or trading them out into a near prime loan. What does that do for the trade cycle for the average subprime customer?
Well, under this program, we're doing 36-month leases and we're accelerating that. They have a credit coach that's available to them. And we're hoping in 18 months, the way we've accelerated it, we're able to get them to where they can substantiate and they can get into a lower loan. But instead of, if their credit's not good and you put them into a 72-month loan with a subprime lender, you never see those people again, right? Because they're 64 months before they can eventually get out of that. But the way we're doing it, we're hoping to see them back in 18 months. So, maybe the first car, it's not the one they really, really want. But if they work hard, then in 18 months, they can get pretty much anything they want. They can buy anything they want to buy. So that's kind of, again, versus just, is it retention? It's just a shorter cycle, but it is retention because we stay, Ricky Hoskins stays in touch with them, keeps them in the know with what's going on. And the credit coach has been very helpful. So
do they have back end products, and then do they service with you as well?
They do. Yes, they do. There's back end products. So we try to get them in here and make sure that the cars, because in 18 months, we want to have a nicer car that we can give them the top dollar for, which you don't always get if you're on a 72-month loan. But if you tell them, we got to keep it up. And again, we do that on the exit interview with the customers. We let them know, hey, this thing needs to be, we do a maintenance plan with them to keep the oil changed and the cars fixed up properly. So hopefully that all works.
And that's all rolled into their payments. So it's nice. They get the oil changes and everything else with the program. And that's something that they don't have to worry about extra money coming out of their pocket for maintenance for the car. So it really helps them out a lot.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, it's really, that goes back to how you're serving the community. You're not just selling them cars. You want to sell them cars and help improve their life. And you see that as a path to accomplish that. DB3, from the, you being in the front line, how do those customers that are converting, like how happy are they when they're like lowering their payment significantly and getting out of that lease?
It's pretty cool to see that it's life-changing stuff for these people. And I think that's the biggest thing, is understanding that we're here to help them. And although they might have had difficult situations in the past, that we were part of the reason why we helped them to get to maybe their goals in the future or wherever else they want to be. You think about it, a ride for somebody, a new vehicle, that could be something that unlocks everything they potentially need. So I think just doing that for people and getting them to where they need to be, and whatever we can do, raising their credit score and getting them into the vehicle they want, I just think it's seeing how appreciative they can be is something that's very rewarding for it.
And they get pretty giddy.
I can imagine. It reminds me of, I'm going to tell a story I don't share with a lot of people, but I think you all may know it. But it was right after I got out of the Army, and I started off great as a civilian. I bought a house I couldn't afford on an ARM loan because I had limited credit just before the subprime mortgage crisis. Then I knocked up my fiance, and then I wrecked my car on the way to work. So I was doing great. And then I went to a dealership to buy, I'll never forget. And I won't even say the name of the dealership because they might even hear this. But point is I went to this dealership to buy a car. I sat there for 8 hours with my pregnant fiance, and the salesperson's walking by with a stogie. to go, I guess, light up, have a stogie. And I say, excuse me, sir, any news on my approval yet? And he looks at me and goes, right in front of my pregnant fiance. And he's like, you can only afford a $30 a month payment. Yeah, get the hell out of here. And literally his exact words. So to hear about a dealer like you all who have this program that helps people in that regard while also helping your dealership, right? Because you're going to retain those. I would have killed like back then if you all had brought me into that program as a consumer and a car buyer, I would have been so grateful, and I probably worked at your dealership. Unfortunately, I didn't stop at your dealership at the time, but that's literally what got me in the car business. So I love that you have that program. Let's talk the saying: sales sells the first car, service sells the rest, right? Do you all believe in that? And if so, tell us about what are some of the things. I know we've got a high, very technologically sound service BDC that's doing a lot of awesome stuff. I am the BDC coach that works with you all in that regard.
Yes.
Would you share with our listeners, what makes your service BDC so high powered?
Honestly, I think it's a great system, and obviously we're very instrumental in that. I think the processes are outstanding. The attitude of the workers, I think back there are great. My service manager just happens to be outstanding. And so he, the morale back there is high because he keeps things going right and puts certain bonus plans in place that they get certain things done. And we do have a great coach back there in Chris. So, when we have goals and they're reminded of those goals every day, and they know that that's what they got to do and that's what they got to hit by the end of the month. But it's not just to set it and forget it on that scenario. They're in there going constantly.
I remember when we first sat down and Kevin was like, I want to lead my own service BDC. And at the time, like he was learning service management, right? Like he hadn't been in that role yet. And we had Justin teaching him and he was going to school to learn that. But I remember he had this vision for BDC and he's like, I know I can lead a service BDC. And then you all had this you had out BDC services. Don't have to talk about who, but yeah. We've shifted from the third party BDC. Now we've built it in house. And you've got loyal BDRs who haven't gone anywhere in years. They show up for work. They make hundreds of calls every day, right? Because we've empowered them with some software that allows them to scale up their outbound. And Kevin is effectively leading your service, your body shop, your BDC. I mean, do you want to share anything? How did you build it to this point? And seriously, what steps did you take? And I've got my opinion on that. I'd like to share, but how did you build it to this point? And you've been instrumental in that.
I don't think it's brain surgery. I think I don't ever want to be the smartest man in the room. So I try to find smart people around me and you and Chris were there, but I listened to Kevin's vision. I gave him the avenue to do what he wanted to do. I gave him the tools he needed, and then I got the hell out of his way and let him do his job.
So you're big on empowering your people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had the vision. I'd like to say, I did a great job back there. All I did was give him what he needed and let him and step out of the way and let him do it. And my door's always open. So if you have if he wants to come in here and scream and yell or ask questions or what do you think I should do about this, I'm always here for that. But I don't crowd him. I let him do his job. Sometimes he makes good decisions. Sometimes he makes bad decisions, but we'll talk about that. And he learns from his bad decisions. And so I let him continue to make decisions because he learns from the bad ones. And he makes a lot of good ones, but if you don't learn from your bad decisions, then it's not going to work out too well.
That's great. And how does and there's the last question, JP, that I'll let you take over. I know you've got some great questions you want to ask. So then you bring in a tool that has AI customer retention, right, as part of it. So AI, that a system that drives marketing, gets your brand out there, showcases your happy, satisfied customers. Basically, it's an app you have an app for all your customers through Vinsyt, correct? And I see all these AI tools on the market, but they're all around lead generation. So for me, this is what attracted me to Vinsyt and was it's like the first AI tool that really focuses on retention, which is our best customer. So tell us about that. How does Vinsyt work with all of your dealership operations and systems and help you just capture more, get your arms around your owner base?
It's really, it's like lead source for our customer base. You know, you want to know about an oil change, or you want to know about something, and it'll come out and say, well, would you like me to have somebody from Don Brown Service reach out to you? And so that lead goes in through DriveCentric. DriveCentric picks it up. It goes right to the service BDC. That goes in their queue. They call, say, Sean, I see you were asking about tires. You know, we have a buy 3, get 1 free special right now. Would you like us to set an appointment and to look at your tires? And if you need them, would you like to get tires? And you say, yeah, it'd be great. So it's just staying with the customer, right? It's a no-brainer. It's seamless. It's seamless for the customer. It's seamless for us. Those are easy ones for them back there, because they're calling, because the customer's basically calling in, but they're not calling in. They're doing it right through their phone. So we're reaching out to them. They know we're going to call because they just said, yeah, like somebody to reach out. So it's just it's a no-brainer.
DB3, what about you? What excites you most about bringing in technology like Vinsyt for Don Brown Chevrolet?
I think the biggest thing is it ties in with sales, it ties in with service. You know, on top of everything else, it ties in with building our salespeople's books of business and the dealership's book of business. Our brand, like we talked about, has been in the city for 40 years, but there's never enough exposure of your business in front of people. And I think what Vinsyt does with the customer retention piece, with the referrals, with the service appointments, with the AI piece, one of the things that we've taken away is that over time, you're always seeing things constantly funnel back into the dealership. And over time, we will see more funneling of the dealership, because the more referrals we get, the more customers we have, the more photos from Vinsyt that get sent out to people, and the more friends and family members that hear about cars getting bought at Don Brown Chevrolet through Vinsyt, the more business it's going to bring to our service department, our sales department, parts department, our body shop, and everything else. So I just think kind of how, like my dad talked about, back in the day, people didn't have cell phones to where they could go look things up. You could go door to door, trying to combat that and make it to where our dealership's readily available for our customers.
That's an interesting point, DB3. It's crazy to think about how fast technology is moving. Back in your dad's day, the cell phones didn't exist. We were going through the white pages or yellow pages. And now, you know, as an AI guy myself, like a technology guy who's really trying to get progressive as it relates to AI and utilizing and leveraging technology, you know, with that being said, I love coming into your guys' store because, number one, you guys are so welcoming, but your staff, I mean, I don't know if that's Sean Kelley's coaching or comes from the top down. Everybody's got a smile on their face. So I hear some companies trying to push hey, it's 100% AI. It's 100% automatic. We don't need salespeople. We don't need people in the service drive anymore. Where do you guys stand on that? Because I think we kind of have the same idea. You know, what's the percentage, if it's 50-50 or 80-20 people over technology? How do you see that in your store today using Vinsyt, but also kind of moving forward as AI, it's only going to get better and better. So what do you guys think about that?
I'll take that first. You know, when I sold cars at Mallory Buick at 19 years old, they were going to have kiosks, and kiosks were going to replace salespeople. And you're just going to have to go up. You're just going to go up to the kiosk, and you're going to punch in your car that you wanted, whatever Buick you wanted, and you know, that was 41 years ago or 42 years ago. COVID showed us that you couldn't go to a dealership, right? And that people they don't want to come in, and they don't want to, you know, you deliver it to them. People want to see people. People want to have the guy, right? Oh, I know a guy. Oh, I got a guy, right? There's always going to be, and no disrespectful respect to when I say that for the females, because there's plenty of very, very good ones in the car business. But I think people want human contact. Maybe one day they won't, but if anything, if COVID taught us anything, a lot of things changed with COVID, right? Nobody's open till 9 o'clock anymore, or not many people are, because a lot of things changed. But we went where we sold cars and we delivered them out to people. But when the dust all settles, still a majority of the people want that human contact, and they want to shake a hand, and they want to talk to somebody about it. So that's my take on it. We'll always have salespeople. AI is a great piece with it, and AI helps them get hold of somebody quicker but they always want to get hold of somebody when the, explain what you did to my car in service. We got rid of our cashiers because now the advisor, when the customer comes to pick up their car, they used to always say to the cashier, what'd they do? I'm just taking your money. That's all my job is. So now the advisor can say, Mr. Burkemper, here's your car. This is what was done to it. And they can explain all that. That just gives you a peace of mind. AI may one day replace that but right now I don't see that happening. Not in my lifetime. I'm not sure it's just going to be in his lifetime.
I think the biggest thing for us is understanding that while people are always going to be the focal point, if you're not up the standards on learning about AI, what it can do for your dealership, getting your people acclimated to using it, then you're going to be falling behind, because ultimately, although it can't take over the human aspect of the dealership, you have to understand that the human aspect of the dealership needs to use the AI to improve their skills. So I think that's
Balance.
understanding how we can just use AI to the best of our potential and to grow the store the most we can.
What do you think, Sean?
Man, it's such a big question, but I think you could see the showroom floor at least evolving into a place where you've got transactional type product specialist people who are like Best Buy employees, mind you. They maybe know the products, they work, maybe they're more flexible hours, but they're not, all in on the relationship development. They're not looking to build this big book of business. Maybe they look at it as a temporary job. But I think the relational types, people that are willing to get involved with the communities and, share their cell phone with their customer, and they're willing to follow up with the referrals and be there for their owner base. I think those people are like gems, and we as dealers need to make sure they're rewarded as such. And I think that those people will always be irreplaceable. And I think the rest could be replaced by kiosk type of situation, or who knows, the Tesla robot when it learns to do a needs assessment or something along those lines. But I do think, to Don's point, that you can't replace persons in the car as it's on the showroom floor. But I do think you can replace the transactional type sales consultants.
Well, what's interesting is on my side of the house, we're a vendor, right? But I like to look at solution partners, and we're a technology company. But what's wild about what has made us the most successful, or the way that we get customers, is not by any glamorous type of technology. It's by knocking doors. It's by having face-to-face conversations. So you're right. I think there is a nice little balance between using the latest and greatest technology, but using that technology to enhance your best people, right? Enhance what your best people are doing on a day-to-day basis. That's why we built Vinsyt, okay? Not to take over your salespeople or service people's jobs, is to enhance what they're doing. In a lot of ways, we like to say that Vinsyt is helping your salespeople do what you wish all your best your best salespeople were doing on a daily basis. So I appreciate that.
And I just want to be clear on something. I will die on this hill, not because you're a coaching client / friend / business / partner, right, for Car Motivators, but I'll die on the hill of what you said about you being the bad guy. Yes, you're a technology company, but everything you do is to augment the success of the people at the dealership. In fact, right. I mean, whenever I couldn't fathom it at first, I'm like, why do these AI guys, why are they so intent and hellbent on partnering with Car Motivators? We're a coaching practice and a people development practice. But it didn't take me long to realize like who you were and what your company really aims to do. And it's truly to help. Like, I think you guys are trying to help the people on the showroom floor succeed through technology. And that's why we're so aligned. And that's why I agreed to team up with Vinsyt from a Car Motivator standpoint, because, if you all were trying to take people out of the equation, there wouldn't be a point in us having a relationship. So to that point though, let me ask you, from your vantage point, how do you see coaching leadership like DB3 and DB Junior here bring to the table? Like, how do you see coaching and leadership working hand in hand with AI to maximize customer retention outcomes for dealerships.
Look at what it's a testament to what the proper coaching and the proper processes being put in place can really do for your store. I mean, like you said, 3 years ago when Kevin took over as service manager, he had this idea of the service BDC, and what got us to that point. What he said is 100% hit the nail on the head. I mean, putting the process in place, having the proper coaching and the proper processes, and letting them go with it, and critiquing it over time, setting goals and doing things that is only going to make them, reach to be the best. And I think that is the main thing with AI is we have to know how to properly coach and prepare for what it's going to turn the business into.
I'm interested to hear what you have to say, JP, because I want to touch on it real quick too.
I'll touch on it as well. I want to be very clear on what the reality is. We have a very kick-ass technology that was built to be 100% automatic. All right. So regardless of what your staff is or is not doing, Vinsyt will get you results. With that said, there are things, and Don's can attest to it. There are things that the people in the stores can be doing on a daily basis to help optimize, take these results to another level. These guys are doing it. We're doing it all in collaboration here. This is one big collaboration, and we're always testing new things. And Sean, your coaching you're helping me not only become a better person in my profession and in my career, but you're helping our technology get to new levels as well. And that's why I love working with guys like you, Sean. You care. And I love working with guys like the Dons because they're in the trenches selling cars. That's what we've built this company to do, is help guys like them sell more cars, because that's their thing. That's their bread and butter. That's what feeds their families. What feeds mine is helping them feed theirs more, if that makes sense. So we look at it as a big teamwork, and I invite all dealerships as well. Anybody who wants to learn more about Vinsyt, it's the same thing here. You're dealing with real people. I appreciate what you guys said about the support, and we're making this thing more kick-ass every single day with your help as well, Sean.
That's awesome. Well, let's make sure our listeners have some practical takeaways that they can put into place. So, Don, did you want to add to that before we move forward? You said you had something.
Well, I just, I see AI helping hone skills. I don't see AI taking over. I think as far as the coaching goes, I think if you could have AI that could sit down and work on closing customers with salespeople, there's things that AI could work on. Advisors that could work with advisors, getting through and talking to people. I think that's a possibility. I still don't think there's anything that replaces a guy like you in coaching me. Again, I got to have the heart behind it. And when I talk to you, it's the heart behind it. So but I'm 61. I'm an old guy. So that.
Well, you look like you're 31, big guy. Stevie, by the way, I'll tell you, one of the most rewarding moments in my career, at least over the last 5 years, I'd say, was I got to take DB3 to one of our coaching clients in Nashville and to teach him some coaching skills and facilitation. And just, I remember sitting there thinking, man, Don trusts me with his son. And that meant so much to me. And DB3 was so just a sponge and wanting to grow as a leader, and still does. So it's so rewarding to be your guys' executive coaches. And I'm excited about what the future holds for Don Brown Chevrolet. And I have no doubt if we keep innovating and challenging ourselves out of our comfort zones, we're going to keep growing. So, okay. So for dealership leaders listening in, what's one thing that y'all would, if you were to give them some advice, what's one thing they could implement today to start improving their customer retention?
Well, I would definitely take a hard look at Vinsyt. We've talked now for quite a while prior to this. And just recently was the first time I heard Vinsyt say, we'll help you sell more cars, because that's our job. Vinsyt's job is to do exactly what they do. And that is to help you retain, help you grow your business. We can sell cars, and so many vendors come in and say, I'm going to sell you more cars. I never heard that when they came into me. They said, this is what we can do for you. And it's we can sell cars, but the way they help us is tremendous. So I'd look at it and, just if your employees have good ideas, let them grow. Managers have great ideas, let them grow and give them what they need, give them the tools they need and get the heck out of their way and let them flourish.
That's sound advice, Don. DB3, how about you? What advice would you give to managers of sales, service, or BDC, that anyone who feels overwhelmed with technology and process or wants to drive up retention? What advice would you give them?
Well, I mean, I know we've talked about it with Vinsyt. There's never a part of the dealership that goes untouched in terms of retention. You have the customer can schedule a service appointment. You can ask questions about your vehicle. You can ask questions about your warranty on your vehicle. You can get in touch with the finance department. There's not a negative aspect of Vinsyt in the sense of it's so easy for your salesperson to take a photo with the customer, build good rapport, get their referrals. Next thing you know, you got salespeople that there's photos of them with their customer out on Facebook. They have people coming in, oh, I saw you on Facebook. And the more that your store is recognized, I think that's been one of the coolest things that we've seen with Vinsyt is that the salesperson, while they are making the deal, they're doing every step to the sale. Vinsyt is making it easy for them to just plug and play into their system and making it to where their customer base can grow. It's something that our salespeople have used for their reviews, their personal image. I mean, it's something that has been able to grow the store and awareness of the store. For a store like us, that's a small family-owned business. We've been in the city for 40 years. Getting that exposure is something that's just working wonders for us. And it's something that you need to consider because it's, like I said, the people you're working with are simple, easy, they get stuff done, and they're going to work with you. And here's the number one thing I have to say is put into it what you expect to get out of it, because if you put the right work into it, you're going to get out of it a lot for your store.
Yeah, that's great, guys. That's great. JP, this one's for you, buddy. What's next for Vinsyt in terms of innovation for dealerships? I mean, Don clearly loves your tool. They love the automation. They love the video too. By the way, just on a side note, what DB3 was talking about there, where customers can just talk to it. I was just in a dealership last week. I won't even say who or where, but I just remember all the finance managers' phones were blinking because they have voicemails. And I said, how? And one of the finance managers talking about how his voicemail box was full. And I was like, how many voicemails does it take to fill up your voicemail box? And he was like, 100. And I was like, you have 100 voicemails you haven't cleared out and gotten back with? And I was just like, I was thinking about all those unhappy customers that might be frustrated, and how Vinsyt, a tool like Vinsyt, might take some of that burden off their plate, right? So it's like now you can focus, your finance people can focus on making money for your dealership instead of, putting out fires. I mean, there's just so many benefits in that regard. But sorry, JP, I digress. JP, what's next for Vinsyt in terms of innovation for your dealership?
Well, you know what, we've rolled out this new referral functionality we're extremely excited about. Don Brown Chevrolet is one of our first users among a few others. The early data is looking very promising. And I will say that this is maybe the most exciting thing I've seen. It seems like everybody I talk to we're doing something different here. And I'm good with people, Sean. You've helped me with that as well. And I can see their eyes light up every time they see this referral functionality. That's probably our biggest and latest enhancement that I'm extremely excited to get going. We're going to work through some kinks here, but ultimately take something to the market that, should be a real game breaker.
That's fantastic. We appreciate everyone for tuning in to the Auto Innovators Unplugged podcast here. So if each of you, all three of you all, could leave our listeners with one last golden nugget about maximizing customer retention, what would it be? I'll throw mine in the mix first. Just deepen relationships. This is the people business. It's not the car business. Care about your people, let them feel your love for them, and they'll stick with you long term. That'll be my gem, my nugget. How about you?
I would say do your research and leverage the right tools out there to help your best people succeed.
Yeah. If you're not getting ahead of things, especially with AI, I promise your competition is, and you'll regret it.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what you said, Sean. Love your neighbor and treat everybody the way you want to be treated, and it'll come.
Yeah, being a good person goes a long way. for a lot of people. So
DB, what about you?
said stay ahead of the curve because it's changes happening 24/7. If you're not ahead of the curve, you're screwed.
Then you're behind them.
Awesome. Well, thanks listeners for tuning in. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on our next podcast.